Hello and welcome to the lesson where we'll be discussing variable naming conventions in Java. In this lesson, we will go over the guidelines and best practices for naming variables in Java, as well as the rules that must be followed. During this lesson, we will discuss the following topics: the explanation of variable naming conventions in Java, explanation of variable scope, and also we'll see the demonstration of how variable scope affects program behavior. First and foremost, it's important to understand that variable names in Java are case sensitive. This means that a variable named myVariable in camel case is different from one named myVariable in lowercase. Java variable names must begin with a letter, $sign, or underscore, and can only contain letters, numbers, $signs, and underscores. For example, the following variable names are valid: myVariable with camel case, salary increase with the underscore, private variable with two underscores, and the discount with the $sign at the beginning of the variable name. However, variable names such as second variable that begins from the number or myVariable that contains dash in the middle of the variable name, they are not valid as they begin with a number or contain a dash. Another important guideline to follow is to use meaningful and descriptive variable names. This makes it easier to understand the purpose and value of a variable when reading the code. Avoid using single-letter variable names or abbreviations that may not be obvious to others reading your code. For example, instead of using A or X, use first name or count or something else descriptive. It's also important to remember that certain words are reserved keywords in Java and they cannot be used as variable names. These include words such as int, double, class, public, private, and so on. As an example, let's look at the piece of code where variable naming conventions are not followed. So at the demo one, all the variables are named just with a single letter. And now let's see the same piece of code with proper variable naming conventions as on the demo 2. As you can see, the second example is much more clear and easy to understand than the first. Using proper variable naming conventions not only makes your code more readable, but it also makes it easier to maintain and debug the code. In summary, when naming variables in Java, it's important to follow the guidelines for naming conventions, such as using lowercase letters, don't start names from numbers, and in general use meaningful and descriptive names. Remember that variable names are case sensitive and that certain keywords are reserved keywords in Java and cannot be used as variable names. By following these guidelines, your code will be more readable and easy to understand. Variables in Java have different scopes which determine where the variable can be accessed in the program. A variable's scope is defined by the opening and closing brackets that enclose the variable declaration. There are three types of variable scopes in Java: local scope, block scope, and global scope. Local scope: a variable declared inside a pair of opening and closing brackets has a local scope. This means that the variable can only be accessed within that pair of brackets. Once the brackets are closed, the variable is destroyed and its value is no longer available. Okay, so let's look at the following example. Let's create a new example file, new class. I will call it example1. And within this class, I'm also going to create the public static void main method. Within this method, I will declare and initialize x variable with the value 5. And let's also print the value of x. System out print line is the construction that allows you to print the value to the console. We'll discuss how it works under the hood later, but for the time being, you can just keep in mind that this statement prints something to the console. So in this example, the variable x has local scope within the main method. It can be accessed and used within the method, but once the method ends, the variable is destroyed and its value is no longer available. I will leave several comments for you, so it will be easier for you to understand what happens here. So x has local scope within the main method. And here, x can be accessed here, and x is kind of destroyed here. So that's it. Block scope. A variable declared inside a block of code which is enclosed within a pair of opening and closing brackets has a block scope. This means that the variable can only be accessed within that block of code. Let's now look at the following example. In this example, the variable y has block scope within the if statement. It can be only accessed and used within this block. So the block is determined by the following brackets, and variable y is declared only for this block of code. And once the block ends, the variable is destroyed and its value is no longer available. So y can be accessed here, y is destroyed here, so y cannot be accessed here because y has block scope. And if I uncomment this line, we can see that the code will not even compile because y cannot be found here. But as you can see, x can still be accessed here because it's declared within the very same scope, within the very same block. That's it. Global scope. A variable declared outside of any method or block has a global scope. This means that the variable can be accessed from anywhere in the program. Let's now look at the following example. In this example, the variable x has global scope. It can be accessed and used anywhere in the program, including within the main method and the sum method. It's important to note that the scope of a variable is an essential aspect of Java programming, and properly understanding and using variable scopes can help you write more efficient, modular, and error-free code. So the variable x, since it has global scope, it can be accessed here and here. In summary, variables in Java have different scopes which determine where the variable can be accessed in the program. Local variables have a scope within a method, block variables have a scope within a block of code, and global variables have a scope throughout the entire program. Properly understanding and using variable scopes is crucial to writing efficient and error-free Java programs. And I hope that this example helps you understand the concept of variable scope and its importance in Java programming. So remember, using the right scope for your variables will help you write more efficient and maintainable code. So that's it for the lesson. Thank you for attention and see you on the next lesson. Bye.